Hi, and a very warm welcome to another episode of the Coaching Life Pod, where we dive deep into real conversations that move the needle in your life and business. Now, today's episode is an absolute cracker. I'm joined by the incredible Erin, aka Zen Warrior, who is not only a holistic mentor and medical intuitive, but also a walking encyclopedia of movement mastery. I'm talking yoga, martial arts, circus arts, ballet basics. This woman just talk wellness. She lives it. And we chat about what it really means to reconnect with your body, how human design can unlock new levels in your health and business, and how to move from burnout to balance. Zero fluff, just grounded wisdom with a side of warrior energy. So whether you're stuck in a cycle of meh, or you're ready to level up your personal power, this episode's gonna hit home. So let's dive in.
Okay, so good morning. Thank you so much for joining me. So, first question is always the same. Can you tell me who you are, where you are, and what do you do, please?
So my name is Erin Polaschek. Some know me as Erin Zen Warrior. And the Zen Warrior concept is really about the masculine and the feminine coming together on our journey. And what I do is I teach balance in life. And I started very much with the body, doing body work and movements, working in a gym, personal training. I grew up in a gym. And then I progressed that because I started working a lot with chronic disease and having a lot of success with remission with chronic diseases, doing stuff that really doesn't seem that difficult, to be honest. As a process of going through there, I started to notice that people only really go into proper remission and stay there and fully heal when they change. So very much the Joe Dispenza narrative started to come in. And because I had a guru from September 11th, 2001. I had been learning meditation for a very long time, but I'd always kind of egotistically, I would say, said, oh, I'm not the guru, so I won't teach meditation. And then I kind of realized that I had all these lovely people around me and they needed mentoring. They needed coaching into better balance with their stress, with their hormones, with everything. So I started doing the works, holistic nutrition, body, mind, neuro-linguistic programming, meditation, and now I kind of just do a bit of everything, including, as you know, I also read human design because it's a great tool within all my other tools that I use. So I kind of call myself a wellness guru now, and that's a new change to my title because people ask me, I go, I don't know, but it works. Or I don't know what to call myself because it is so many things and it varies depending on the person in front of me. Oh, and I'm based in New Zealand. So hi from New Zealand. It's actually the evening here. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Yes, it's early evening or evening for you, early morning for me. It always amazes me. I have the time differences and how it goes. Well, you answered all three parts of that, so I'm very impressed. And now you're going to be very impressed. I've actually done some research in you as well. So I've done some research. I've got a background and I've got questions relating to you. So anyone listening to this is going to be very surprised because it's literally the first time I've ever done this. So, okay, so can you share a bit more into your, you should be honored. So can you share your personal journey and what led you to become a holistic mentor and a medical intuitive?
You read that bit too. So I was actually talking to a friend of mine last night who is in Thailand at the moment, and she was part of, for lack of a better term, she was part of the cult, the Sangha, the group, and I use that term very loosely, meditation group that I was living in. And she said she also has found that medical intuition is something that's come up for her. And she's also a projector, as I mentioned probably about myself somewhere in your research. And her and I were talking back and forth about how we were taught to look and see. Now, within my mechanical design, I'm very good at diving into people. And for me, when I first met my guru, I very quickly sponged up what he was doing. And he was also a medical intuitive. And he worked very much with raising the body frequency so that he could raise the frequency of the fifth dimensional being that we are. So you raise the 3D so that it doesn't pull down the 5D. And then you raise the 5D so that the 3D is also pulled up. So it's a circular kind of process. And you can go either way. but it is actually sometimes easier for people to go with the three-dimensional construct because they can see, taste, touch, and feel it, you know. So I watched him do that, and I learned very quickly, because he was an osteopath, acupuncturist, and naturopath, specializing in Ayurveda and all sorts of wonderful things. I watched how he would work with the spine, and I understood central nervous system, spine and brain. So he's adjusting the spine, he's changing how you think, right? Then he would work with the nutrition in the body. He would start lifting the body up, supplementing, using superfoods. I mean, we were cutting edge 20 years ago. We were researching goji berries and noni juice and doing all that stuff. And even like how to reverse diabetes using things like kiwi fruits and all sorts of different things that in nature actually can help balance hormonal imbalance. So I learned very quickly what he was doing. There was a lot of focus around the stomach before everybody started talking about gut biome. We were already doing that. We were already ice bathing and going to saunas. And that was now, well, 23 years ago. So this is before Wim Hof really had a stage, you know, before the internet became really big on the social media front. So, you know, my life was really about being absorbed in this, lowering the stress in the body through food, through things like biohacking, like a sauna and ice bath, through meditation, in order for the person to allow flow. From there, he gave me a few directives. So the first time I met him, I fixed his shoulder and I didn't know what I was doing. And he was shocked. He was like, he got me to do something and then he was like, you fixed it like this. And he looked at me like, you know, and then from there were a few other things every now and again. He goes, oh, can you help me with this? And I would help. And then one day he just said, you should learn massage. And so he also said to me, I should learn yoga from the first day I met him. So I started learning yoga from then. My mother had been a yogi. My dad had been a martial artist. My mum had been a New Zealand title holder bodybuilding. Like I came from movement anyway. But yeah, I started going down this path. So when I did personal training, I did a diploma and included massage therapy. And then what I found is I would always meet the master, whether it was the master at acupuncture and understanding where the acupuncture lines came from. So that was Philip Beach, who was someone I studied under for 7 years, or it was the incredible dance mover, or, you know, I bumped into Mike Fitch and got to learn from him animal flow, and he's the creator of. I had this incredible guru that I was with for 9 years who, I mean, we really freestyled in so many things. I went to so many body therapists over the years. I have been worked on every week of my life because I started to realize I was resurrecting my energy to do more work. And you have to do that no matter what your work is. And while I was with the guru, there were other things that were encouraged. Like, what do you see in this person? We were encouraged to look at ourselves and at other people. And I started to realize I could see right into their soul. And from there, I started to notice that when I would work with clients, just personal training, I could see that they had extreme candida, or I could smell ketoacidosis, diabetes, or pre-diabetic nature, or I can smell cancer. Oh, that one's not fun. That's got a real particular smell to it that I really don't like. I could smell stomach problems. I could smell all sorts of things. And some things would just come to me, like I wouldn't necessarily smell them. They would just sort of pop into my head. And I'd be like, oh, it's this. And people would look at me like, and sometimes it would be psychological. So it'd be like, oh, I see this about you. And people would look at me stunned. And see, the thing with the psychological and the physical is they are not separate. There is no separation. So the psychological is dis-ease and the physical is dis-ease, and they are connected. And sometimes I'll go through the body for it, and sometimes I'll go through the mind and the psychology for it. But in all cases, bringing awareness to something and then allowing someone to choose their path from there is a massive invitation for an individual. And not everyone is ready to take it. And some are so ready, they go wholeheartedly into it. And some are a little bit ready, and it helps them for a while until they take the time to process, or they get stuck and they need more time to process, and then they turn back up 2 years later or 5 years later, because they've processed and they're ready for the next step. We see disease in a really negative way. And there are some great modern practitioners out there. Dr. Ben Lynch is one who used to be an oncologist, and now he works alternatively with cancer. And he will say the exact same thing that Gabor Mate will say, or Joe Dispenza will say. Your dis-ease is your invitation to change your life. And it's a process.
Very interesting. Mind-blowing. It's very, very interesting. It also sounds, it must be flipping exhausting for you.
Yep.
Yeah, but if that's constantly going all the time, and when it be obviously, well, it's not obviously. My question is, the follow-on question for that is: this is something you have to do face to face?
No, that's the amazing thing is that no, I don't have to. Being an aura, what I'd call being an aura, so being within 7 feet of someone, and my aura is quite expanded these days, so I can be, and I'm very sensitive, more sensitive than even I kind of get sometimes. Like sometimes it surprises me how whacked out my energy will get, or how much I will glean about a person just talking to them for a moment. But it can take me a day to process, because so for those who know human design, my mechanics are slow, but it's almost like they're digesting all the layers of information. So I get a lot of layers. And I can get layers over a long time as well. So all of a sudden something can pop in because it's ready. Like I don't get to choose the timing, and neither do you. It's like, that old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. Well, it's almost like when the student is ready, the information arrives for them. And so it can be very exhausting, but the nature of a projected design. So I'm talking for your people, I'm talking about human design. And this is a new form of, a new combination of how to read how you're designed according to the stars and the neutrino streams that you're born into. So right now, 3 trillion particles or nanoparticles of neutrino is passing through you per square inch per second. That's stardust that passes through all physical objects all the time. So it's constant streams. And this is why astrology in its refined form seems to work, why the I Ching seems to have guts, is because there's actually a quantum physics reality to why it works. There are streams of stardust passing through us all the time, and they are affecting us. Exploded stars. And it's a scientific fact, we are stardust. So the day I was born into a particular mechanism, and that mechanism is very designed for medical intuition. And it seems to be increasing as I go, like it gets stronger and better all the time. That design is very sensitive. It knows a lot more than I understand, and it can take time to process the information, or the information will be tapping. It almost taps. It'll be somewhere here, and I'll be like, hang on, wait a second, something's coming. But it may be a message more than this is what's wrong with you. It may just be, honestly, sometimes the most heartfelt message of you're okay, and what's going on with you, which is this and that and the other thing, which will be the message. This is something for you to evolve through. This is an invitation for you. So other times it can be you need to eat grilled oranges, or you need more beetroot, or your bloodstream is messed up and your lymphatic system needs a clean and needs to be flushed. So it can be, varied things. But the nature of the design, it needs to decompress a lot. So I spend a lot of time acknowledging when I need to rest, taking time to decompress. And I didn't used to leave gaps between clients, but now I leave at least some gap between clients. And I don't take on too many at a time either.
Very, very, very interesting. Okay, so you've touched on some of this already. You've trained in yoga, martial arts, circus arts, and even animal flow. How has the diverse movement background shaped your approach to health and well-being?
What a great question. I love this. We are here to be three-dimensional. We are here to play in these incredible avatars we've been given, to appreciate them and use them in so many different and diverse ways. And in the words of Ido Portal, who is one of the greatest modern calisthenic movers of our time, there is no more complex a movement machine than the human body. And it's so incredible that when you mess it up, it reroutes to find a way. I have a client who I call my Superman, and he and I have been working together for 10 years. Now that I've moved city, we work online together. And occasionally when I go to the city, I do body work on him. And he has something called psoriatic arthritis. That mangles bones. It creates formations within the bones where the feet are completely different. The knees are totally different. The hips are mangled. Everything's kind of taken a knock-on effect. The joints of the hands are swollen, or not swollen, enlarged in him. And he has been such an interesting partner in crime, because when I first met him, I said, has anyone ever worked on your feet? And they've been bolted and cut away at and surgically operated on to cut away extra bone and all that sort of stuff. And he looked at me and he went, what do you mean worked on? And I went, has anyone massaged them? Has anybody worked with the tissues? He said, well, there's steel in there. I said, there's also tissue in there. And if we can work the tissue, we might be able to get more movement everywhere else. And if we can get more movement everywhere else, we de-stress the system. So, for example, you ever suffered with lower back problems? Yeah? So when you have a lower back problem, every time you stand up, every time you go to move, every time you go to pick something up, don't you have to consciously think about it? Doesn't it cause you dis-ease, as in distress, right? So, and the fact that your body is in pain, it's elevating your cortisol, your stress levels. So anybody who comes to me with back problems, and again, I can do this online, usually within 2 to 3 weeks, we can get rid of the back pain if it's non-specialized. And by non-specialized, I mean, there isn't steel or some bizarre reason that this is going on. There's just like kind of a chronic occurrence of back pain over time. 2 to 3 weeks, I can make it so they don't need an osteopath every 2 weeks or a chiropractor every 2 weeks. That's life-changing, because now when they wake up in the morning, they don't think about standing up. When they go to play with their kids, they don't think about what it's going to be like to get up off the floor. You know, there's a guy who wrote a book, How to Fix Your Shoulder Injury. He's an orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Kirsch. And this book he released for public consumption. So it's very well written for you to just easily read yourself. He deliberately didn't submit it as a medical paper, despite that being his area of expertise, because he wanted the common man to find something that remedied more than 80% of the shoulder injuries he'd previously been surgically operating on. And his inspiration was his children, because one day he went to chase them up a ladder and he could not lift his shoulders up or his arms up because of the shoulder restrictions from doing all those minute surgical things. He'd created lots of tension, and he never did this. And he very quickly worked out, I can't because I don't. And so he started through a lot of pain to rehab that kind of shoulder stuff, doing what he did, which, you know, I work through with people sometimes. It can be a lot of pain. You know, you actually have to work to light a lot of discomfort to reopen up the remodeling in the scapula, because it comes up into the AC joint here and it can get kind of bent over. And so just the act of taking your arm up can remodel it back, but you've got to work that and you've got to deal with any compression into the AC joint at the time. So this whole area here, this is your heart, right? This is how you breathe in. This is how you take the energy from the sexual chakra, the sacral, this maintenance chakra here, up to the maestro. This is how you relax into the joy of your life. Most people are stuck in fight or flight, and that means they're stuck in money, food, and sex, right? Which is all these 3 lower chakras. And that's not a bad thing to be in these areas. It's good to ground in. But if you can't bring the energy up, this whole system, which is a recharging battery, it doesn't recharge. It just gets exhausted. And this is where chronic disease comes from. We're working in a world where the rate of autoimmune, and this might be adjusted depending on how they reclass cancer if they do that, autoimmune is 1 in 5. That's 20% of people have autoimmune. If we increase that with just chronic disease alone and we throw cancer in there, it's 50% of the population have chronic disease. Why? Like, that should be the question. Why is it so large? And the reality is dis-ease. You overstress the system, overstress the system, overstress the system. What happens is there is this bonder that your repair hormone needs, that your stress hormone also needs. And if all the stress does is grab that hormone, that bonder all the time, when you go to sleep at night, there's nothing left for DHEA, for that repair hormone. And so you just end up never feeling good. You wake up in the morning, you feel like you didn't sleep. Or you couldn't get to sleep because your adrenal system was so overstimulated. And people don't realize how incredibly delicate this system is. It's so incredible. So incredible. And it's so much wants to come home. You give it a chance, it will heal. Every time. But it's nuanced. How you think is how you heal.
Ooh, there's the quote. Thank you very much. I love it. So interesting. So interesting. What are the biggest misconceptions people have about holistic health, and how do you help them overcome these beliefs?
Oh, I love that. Wow, where do I start? So I think I'm going to be a bit controversial here. Is that okay?
I expect no less from you.
Oh, excellent. Good. You know who you're talking to. Of course, I forgot. You did your research. I think some of the biggest misconceptions come from how we're programmed into the Western medical system. If I have a headache, I can take a pill, headache solved. Doing this creates, especially willy-nilly, but doing this can create a cascade of problems. And when I say can, I really mean will. When you take NSAIDs, these painkillers, of which, you know, you start going up to some of the heavier hitters, Voltarens and things like that, they destroy your stomach lining. Your stomach lining is 1 cell thick. Once you have a perforated stomach lining, you now have leaky gut. Leaky gut leads to particles of food in your bloodstream. That leads to your liver being overloaded because it doesn't know what to do with particles of food. Your liver, whilst it's not part of the endocrine system, it kind of is, because it's actually responsible for converting D3 into an active hormone. You've also got other things that are necessary coming out of the liver that are helpful with regards to serotonin, the SAMe precursor, for example, to serotonin. That's your happiness, right? So you start annoying that liver, all of a sudden you start to have a meltdown. Now remember what I said, how you think is how you heal. So if your liver is angry, what we call in traditional Chinese medicine, angry liver, you're going to be angry. So you know when you've gone through those phases where you're just snappish and you wonder what's wrong with you? You're like kind of snapping at things. I know, I've been there. Whenever I get that, I'm like, oh, liver's off. And I go back and I start working with my liver again. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that it's okay to take these pills for just anything and just like without even thinking about it, that it won't cause any harm. In New Zealand, we would say, she'll be right, mate, you know, and really she won't be right. We can be very flippant in this country. I think that we don't understand our bodies enough. And so I think one of the other big misconceptions around holistic health is that it's kind of like voodoo science or woo-woo. You know, you hear this phrase, I'm going to talk woo-woo. And sometimes I do that. My cat's got the zoomies. Sometimes I do that because I'm trying to soften the blow with the other. But I don't actually think that. I don't think my stuff is woo-woo. My stuff works. And it's not my stuff. It's 20 plus years of coming through from my mother teaching me in the car at 14 about food and macronutrients and vitamins and supplements and rest and all that sort of stuff. And my dad teaching me about breath work and reading the Yogananda's book at 6 years old, Autobiography of a Yogi, you know, and being opened up to the idea of what else is out there and watching him manage his heart condition with breath work. And eating spirulina by the fistful, which wasn't even popular back then, you know, to coming through all the different people that I did and seeing what worked, what was most effective, and being able to look into a person and starting to learn what different things actually looked like when I was looking at them. And I can feel things are off, but I don't always know exactly what it is, you know. But as I've progressed with it, I've started to recognize it. So it's not voodoo. It's not woo-woo. Just because you haven't been indoctrinated into the process of how holistic health works. I mean, I can look at you and see that your kidneys are off because your spine is showing me, you know, your eyes show me, your energy shows me. There's so much to just look at. When you listen to someone like Carolyn Mace, who's one of the greatest medical intuitives that's graced our screens, one of Oprah's favorites, when you listen to, you know, her books on medical intuition, she's like, you have to know a structure, you have to know a system. But a lot of people can be medically intuitive if they're trained correctly. It's not such a wow thing, right? It's a process of looking and observing in a way that's a little bit beyond what we've been taught to see. And the reason that we don't see these things is because we haven't been taught this. So I think the third misconception about health, more than holistic health, is that people want a quick fix. And when it comes to holistic medicine, when people don't get an instant fix or it doesn't seem like it's working, or more likely, their symptoms start to really kick up as they take themselves through the process. They don't realize that the darkness comes before the light. And the closer you get to the light, the more the darkness whips up. When I was in my 20s in London, I remember having an infected hair follicle in a place that's not so pretty. And it had started to do some really weird things. And if you know what that's like, they kind of blow out like golf balls. Right? Not fun. And I was determined not to take antibiotics because that's usually what they would give you. And so I started experimenting. I threw golden seal at it. Well, that stopped it from growing. So that was great, right? And I was like, cool, I've stopped it from growing, but it's not moving. It's not getting smaller. And then I looked up an old soothsayer's recipe for blood detox because I was like, it's a blood issue, right? Fluid field blood issue. I've got to clean the blood. I need my immune system to come up. So I started doing this juice and I did it for about 3 days. And after 3 days, I was starting to lose my bottle a little bit. And there was this moment where I was sort of in tears, kind of upset by this thing that wasn't moving. And there was a little voice in my head and it said, just wait one more day. Just wait. And I was like, right, I wait. And the next day, it was almost gone. And that's the thing. There's always that point where you come to the breaking point emotionally. And it's like, this is your gift. This is you cutting through a layer. But if you think healing holistically is just I throw a bunch of herbs at you and you're going to be better, the bit that people miss is that how you think is how you heal.
Wow. Yeah, amazing. Great answer. Great answer. We could talk all day. I've got one more question for you. Throw one more question at you because I think we probably need to do a part 2 at a later stage. But yeah, thank you so much for so far. So for someone feeling stuck or disconnected from their body, what are the first steps they can take to reclaim their health and energy?
Breathe. Breathe. And breathe. Do this for me right now. Just breathe all the way out as far as you can, like every little last drop. And when you breathe in, just let the breath float in. And let it pause at the top for a second. And then maybe take just a little extra breath in. And then let it all the way out again, every last little drop. It's good, right?
Crazy how simple.
So simple. Breathe. Like I did the little breath hold at the top because it's a wee reset, so that little extra breath in. But what people don't do is breathe out. Because what do you do when you stress? Everybody gets up here. So it's like, empty the damn cup. Just empty it all the way out. Start again. And that's the thing, when you feel really disconnected, the easiest way to breathe, if you've got the space to do it, is to lie down on the floor, put yourself in a comfortable position. So for some people, that's bend their knees, feet on the floor, and just breathe all the way out and just stay there for a while and just let yourself connect to the ground. If you can do it on the actual grass or the sand or something like that, even better. But just breathe out, because your body is waiting for you. There are so many things you can do with your body to start connecting in, learn a movement pattern, go learn a discipline, go walk on stones, go walk on the earth barefoot. There are so many things. But the simplest thing you can do, even in your office, sitting at your desk, even in a meeting, even before an interview, breathe all the way out first. Make them wait. Breathe all the way in and then begin again.
Wow. It's amazing. So final question, I promise you. Human design. I know so little about human design. I've had some very interesting conversations over the last few years with different experts, as obviously yourself. So what's the best way to get started on that journey, or maybe educating yourself about it? What would you recommend?
Your journey in anything, I think I had this up on my page recently, you might have seen it. Even in relationship, in your job, in your raising your children, it's an invitation to self all the time. And when you go into self, you're able to go out to others better. Human design is all about you. It is about you learning about your mechanics first. Once you have learned about your mechanism and how your physical mechanism works, that's the first bit, because there's a mental mechanism, but that's for later. The first thing is you learn about your physical mechanism. And once you understand how that functions, then you can start to drop into allowing the intuition of the body, because that's what human design is really about in the physical. It's about the intuition of the body, and we all have slightly different ways that intuition works. You're a sacral being. Yours is a nice quick jump of the gut. Mine is emotional. I need to sleep on it. I need to go through a wave. That's 53% of the world, who should be telling everybody to go away and come back later for an answer. Some people are splenic. They're very fast, right? Some people are self-projected. They need to be very relaxed. Some people are ego designed, so that's different again. Some people are external. They don't even have internal body intuition. It's all about what's going on around them and how their body interacts with that. So, and how they gather their wisdom or feel it through that external interaction. Those people are rarer and need more help as a general rule, at least initially. But the first thing you do, you take your birth date, your time, your location, you go find a human design free chart or free body graph, and you work out what your type is. From there, it will give you two other pieces of information: your strategy and your authority. What your strategy is what you're waiting for, because everybody's waiting, right? So you're a generator. You were a pure generator, weren't you? From memory, I think you're pure sacral generator.
Yeah.
So you're waiting to respond to something. All generator types are waiting for something to respond to. So something's got to come to them. What's his name? Joe Dispenza is a manifesting generator. And he talks about how he sits down and creates his day, and then how people just bring him what he wants. Like literally it lands on his doorstep because he raises his frequency. And so he's telling you how a generator works. I get stuff to respond to, you know, and he trusts in his design. Not that he knows that that's what he's doing, but he does know. He just doesn't know that that's also how his design works, right? So if you're a projector, you're waiting for invitation. If you're a manifester, you're waiting for your authority to push you, to give you the intuition as to what you're going to initiate. If you're a reflector, you're waiting 29 days for that moon, because they're lunar beings, for that moon to go through its process. And you're going to go out there and experiment with people and try on different snapshots of auras and sample auras so that you can get different viewpoints, because they're our wisdom gatherers, our mirrors. So they're going to mirror back to us what is out there in society and where we're all at. So it's about learning about those strategies. So as a projector, I radically just wait. And honestly, I will twiddle my thumbs doing nothing if I feel like it and wait, you know. And then it's about your authority. So is your authority emotional? Is it, you know, going through those body intuitions? My mum is a very intuitive person. She said to me the other day, I just go with my gut. And I was like, Mum, you don't have a gut response. She's like, yeah, I do. I'm like, no, you're emotional and splenic. You get a nudge. You get a subtle nudge. It's not as significant as that generator sacral, you know. It's easier to miss, but she's emotional, so she actually has time to work through it. But the spleen does nudge her as well. So it's sort of understanding those three parts. What am I? What is my strategy? How does my body intuit stuff? And how does that intuition work?
Amazing. Very, very powerful. So I'm sure anyone listening to this episode today is going to want to know more about you. So what's the easiest way to learn more about you and get in contact?
Great. Well, I will say this, my website is under rewrite at the moment because it was thrown up very quickly, but and then I moved on with clients. But erinpolaschek.com, so ErinPolaschek.com. That takes you to my website that should connect you to whatever I'm kind of up to. There's a lot of stuff that is yet to go on there that just has never made it on. On there, you can set up a free discovery call with me. So you can literally go book it on my diary. If there's not something, I do say this to people, if there's not something there that works for you, you can get in touch, send me a message, and via my Instagram, Erin Zen Warrior, at Erin Zen Warrior, or Erin Polaschek on Facebook, which I can give you the links to as well.
And I'll make sure they're all in the show notes. Perfect.
Right.
Amazing. As I always knew it would be. That's inspired me for my day, and that's me set for the day. I tell you what, absolutely. Thank you so much, as always. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, I would imagine we need to come back and revisit and do a part 2.
I look forward to that. There's one more thing I want to say about human design. Human design is the invitation to step beyond I coulda, woulda, shoulda, need to, must do. And it is simply to follow the vehicle to what it intuits is for you. That process, if you can get it right, will allow your life to unfold in a way that is beyond anything you ever imagined.
Yeah, I can't follow that. Amazing. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for the invitation.
And that's a wrap. So how powerful was that? Huge, massive thank you to Erin for bringing her magic, the wisdom, and that calm but fierce Zen warrior energy. And if her words have stirred something in you, don't just nod along, act on it. Whether it's turning into your body, exploring human design, or simply moving with more intention, today is the day to start. And if this episode lit a fire in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, screenshot it, tag us, and pass it on, because these kinds of conversations are meant to ripple. And if you want to keep the momentum going, come and hang out with us inside the Facebook community, and the link is in the show notes. And that's exactly where the real talk continues and the magic compounds. And as always, keep showing up, stay curious, and back yourself, because you're more capable than you will know. I'll catch you next time. I'm Rich Hunter Rice. Take action now.